to the Temple Mount Podcast. My name is Shogun. Joining me today is my friend Zoo. And we are going to talk about Faustian Bargains and selling your soul to, well, the devil or demon queens. Before we get started, make sure you join us on the Temple Mount Discord server and on the YouTube and BitChute channel where you can find our podcasts. That being said, thank you for joining me today, Zoo. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing quite well. How about yourself?
I'm doing quite well as well. So you have made a bargain of sorts with some kind of female spirits that you identify as Lilith and who? There's two of them, right? So Lilith and who's the second one?
Ashra, or I just usually call her Hera.
Lilith and Hera. So you have a relationship with these two spirits, essentially.
Yes.
And how do they communicate with you?
So they communicate with me telepathically. I actually have one of them who dwells a portion of their spirit into me and through my blood, and that amplifies the signal and allows them to have more access of my own perceptions, and they can see things from how I see and feel things and how I feel things. And it's like having a super intelligent imaginary friend, but it's actually a different entity. You can tell it's clearly not you.
So you use the term of like an imaginary friend. So it's like a spiritual companion who is invisible but present in your life.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I can relate with that. But you believe that these entities are actually goddesses?
Well, yes.
And the goddesses, again, are Asherah and Lilith?
Well, Lily, that's not usually the name she would take if she's playing the goddess role. Lily, that name is actually like her most demonized of names, though it is like her, I guess, one of her like real true names, more or less. In the demon realm, that's what she is known by. And I have my own name down there. I'm pretty well known down there, I guess you could say.
So what is the way in which you are known down there? Like, what is the terms or conditions of the deal that you made? Like, as if you understand it.
Well, I mean, a little tit for tat. I mean, I've been making Faustian bargains with fucking dumbasses on this planet for fucking quite some time. And, I had a number of, souls collected up myself. And so, I wanted to make a proposal. I want to get ranked up a little bit, you know what I mean, in the hierarchy down there. Because, I'm kind of a bit of a glory whore myself, and I just want to climb the ladder. And there's nothing more metal than, like, seeing if you could maybe pull, like, one of the demon queens, one of the four. You know what I mean?
So you're trying to have a romantic relationship with these four demon queens?
No, only two of them.
With two of the four demon queens. A sexual or romantic relationship.
Well, I mean, it would be both.
Right. And so then what is it that you offer them in exchange for whatever they offer you? What is your side of the bargain?
I mean, I offer loyalty. I offer my services, my skills, everything I bring to the table, a number of my hidden possessions. I bring a number of souls. I bring a couple of things on a different scale as well. And it just seemed like it might be a good fit and everything. More or less, this whole project of going into hell has been like a 900-year project for me. All kind of fucking starting off as a fucking spook story, I guess you could say, trying to spook some motherfuckers. And, so it's kind of developed in quite some time. And I've been in this country specifically for about 403 years. I've been here since 1620, and I do a really good job when I want to as LARPing, as something you would never expect me to be, like a fucking hardcore Puritan. No one would have ever fucking expected it was me. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And I mean, I've been around for a while. I mean, down there, they got a name for me. They call me Baphomet.
They call you Baphomet? Why do they call you Baphomet?
Well, it all started with a spook story. In a previous life, I was in the Crusades, except I was an anti-Crusader. I guess you could say I was the ultimate anti-Crusader because I just didn't want anything to do with that nonsense. I was on the opposing side. I was on the East, not the West back then. And so it's a bit kind of interesting because, I'm on opposing lines, I guess you could say, in that regard as well. Um, I- it all kind of started off with wanting to mess with a bunch of Crusaders, and we knew that they were afraid of demons more than anything else. And so we would have a number of people within our organization, the Order of Assassins, wear a spook mask of a goat mask known as the Goat of Mendes. And it's really started off as dark legends that the Crusaders passed on orally, though they didn't write about because that's like a cold black magic kind of stuff. You can't put that on paper. So the first time that name was ever mentioned was on like really, really official documentation. Wasn't up until about 1307, though it's been in population orally and on like a cult writing side for over like about 200 years by that point. And at that point, it was because the Knight Templars got so addicted to Eastern Zoroastrian mysteries that they began worshiping the image of Baphomet. Legitimately. That's not just a rumor. They legitimately did that because they made Faustian bargains for forbidden knowledge.
The Knights Templar did?
Yep.
So the Knights Templar made Faustian bargains for forbidden knowledge with demons?
Yep.
I see.
The Vatican knew this because the Vatican is run by demons.
And the force that was in opposition to them was the Assassins?
It was the main force. In fact, the Assassins were the most feared organization throughout that conflict. Not just the Crusaders, but also the Sunni and the Shiites that were around them all knew you didn't mess with those guys.
I see. So, what is the terms of your agreement that you have with these female spirits? Like, what would you describe as your obligations in this arrangement?
I've been talking about a number of things, like completely disclosing my book of mask, if you will, to them about which ones were my actual secret identities, and they've agreed to do the same. And so a lot of it's been figuring out who is who throughout the whole game, if you will. And I should have prefaced this earlier, but this is all like a LARP. I'm a failed actor actually, so I just do this stupid shit on Discord to mess around. And everyone in the community knows that I just come up with wacky stories and everything because I wanted to be a writer at one point.
Yeah, I understand. But nevertheless, what is the arrangement that you have with these spirits in terms of what you bring to the table?
Well, I mean, they're very interested in this concept of having a matriarchy, very modeled like a beehive, more or less. With a queen bee at the top, controlling the system, and then they're not a big fans of this whole global, Yahwistic, patriarchal, capitalistic world that it has the global dominance right now, for good reason, because this whole system is fucked beyond absolute belief. I mean, they bought right into the fucking beast system. They're just like a fucking. These people are absolutely absurd. It's like you show some of these dumb motherfuckers just a little bit of forbidden knowledge, and they just fucking lose their minds.
So, you told me once that you believed that you were going to go to hell because of this arrangement that you made. Do you still believe that you're going to go to hell?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be the king of it.
You're going to be the king of hell, you believe. So doesn't that kind of set off some like warning flags that because I've told you about my story about meeting the quote unquote devil, right? In the Tim Hortons.
I have.
Right. So he said to me, I think you're becoming the new king of hell. I think you're becoming the new Satan. And he went to touch my head, and I jumped up and said, I don't want to be God. I don't want to be the devil. I just want to be another human. I just want to be another Christian. So
Well, that's
same,
because you were actually set to be the king of hell.
that
I
same
mean,
offer, what I'm saying is that same offer to be the king of hell, to be the new devil, was made to me. And it was very clear to me that that was a trap. That was a trick. If you were to accept it, the previous devil is just playing hot potato because they've made that same bargain in the past where they're like, oh, I'll be the king of hell. And they don't realize that that means like being tormented in hell, because hell is not a kingdom, it's like a prison. And so they're always looking for someone who's willing to step up and be the new quote unquote king of hell, because that's actually like not a good thing to be. But they want you to take that role so that you will suffer the consequences.
I mean, I will say I know you were originally given the offer because you were set to be one, and then you declined it. And then after doing so is when I approached with my proposal and it got accepted.
Right, but I refused because I didn't want to be the king of hell. I didn't want to be Satan or anything of that sort. But you do, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so why? Why would you want to be the king of hell or Satan or the devil? Why would you want that?
I mean, that's what everyone says I am anyways. Might as well, right? Up until this point, I hadn't, right? Up until this point, I've been nothing more than a scapegoat for people not wanting to take responsibilities for their actual actions, more or less. That's the role I played. Why wouldn't
Right.
I? I'm already damned by these motherfuckers, anyways. Why wouldn't I want to?
Well, you're
I have.
not already damned, right? I mean, you're not already damned. You could choose salvation very easily. It's very easy to choose salvation. You just have to repent of your sins and turn to Jesus, and you'll be saved. So you choose damnation because, from what I've seen, it's a sexual thing for you. It's like a romantic and sexual thing where you're attached to these spirits. And I understand that because I have a crush on some spirits as well. But I'm just saying, if you're being honest about it, they're taking you for a ride, most likely. Because when you fuck about with the kingdom of darkness, the hot chicks of the kingdom of darkness, they're not loyal there, you know, they're like predators.
I mean, I'm very well aware of their black cat energy and dark feminine energy, and really, the point of it is it would make their lives easier. So why would they want to kill me? And in other words, also right now I'm acting as a host to a more parasitic kind of energy, if you will. And I don't say that in a derogatory way, but it's usually more of a drain. You know, um, but I have quite good real generation and vitality, so it doesn't bother me. And I also get supplemented nutritionally that helps with the whole process. And so I can talk to these quote unquote spirits, at will at any time, and it's very loud and clear. On my left side is the side Lily always picks. On the right side is the one Hera always picks.
Yeah, so you have a female spirit on the left side and on the right side, but both of them are essentially demons or, fallen spirits or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, therefore, whatever they offer or propose is sort of a trick, most likely, because that's just their nature.
And not when it comes to a Faustian bargain. No, they you can't go back on your word on that stuff like at that serious level. Like if it was just like, oh, a stupid like little dumb ritual, yeah, something like that. But like something at this level of sophistication in terms of legalism and terms and conditions and everything, it's all got. There's a private ledger of all the agreements, terms and conditions, and everything we've spoken about, and at all levels. What systems I bring, specialties, what kind of thing I would advocate for, and then I want to see what's your dream. If you could relive and start from fresh, and you're no longer a demon lady, but you're just someone who gets to try and be human, how would you live it in a safe environment? Would it make you change your perception of humanity? Would would it give you hope for humanity, even though they've scapegoated you for all of their fucking dumb issues for quite some time? would you be willing to have a change of heart? And they said yes. And so all I did is I offered a proposal. We went through a very legislative, more or less process of getting to vet one each other on a level that we've never even done. We've known each other for quite some time, but not to this level.
So, what do you think that you've given up in order to have this arrangement? There's something you gain, but what do you lose? What is the cost? What is the consequence?
Well, yeah, it's like my time, all my skills, more or less, that I've accumulated over a long history of this game. Um, you know, if I told you the real reason why I was sold, I was picked, it would be fucked beyond belief. So I'd rather not.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I'm just wondering, what you can share about these kind of arrangements, Faustian bargains, soul contracts, based on your understanding.
Well, I've done a number of them with people for time, and I've been known as the Heart of Stone guy. You know, I'm the guy, I can make a bargain with someone and, they can get what they want, but it's going to cost them their heart.
I see.
And let's see what happens when they go without just a little bit of when they go without empathy, if they can still cognitively be a good individual without telling them what to do. In fact, what you're doing by taking the emotions and dialing it down is actually giving them more free will. And see what they're gonna fucking do with it. And see if they go back on their word, try being like fucking little fucking snake. And so, yeah, if you enter one and you fuck up and you just go out of your way to fuck it up, and you've been given chance and chance again, you're gonna fucking lose your soul.
So your soul is on the line when you make these arrangements.
That's what's being bartered. That's the number one currency in the underworld.
Souls. And you only have one soul to give. So what happens when you sell your soul and then you have no soul left?
Well, it's not like I'm giving my soul up. No, it's more like I'm giving my time and things I have access to and everything. But my personal soul, I'm keeping to myself. What I do offer is a number of souls I've gathered by a bargaining that I'm offering instead, more or less. But yes, on a spiritual level, in terms of loyalty, virtues, faithfulness, and stuff like that, I've made a number of arrangements of how I would behave in a manner. But did I actually go out and say, well, I'm going to give the entirety of my soul and just let you do whatever you want with it? No.
Right. Well, is there anything else you want to say about this arrangement or about these kinds of arrangements that you think people need to know?
I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing them, especially if you're not like someone who really knows what's up. Because, I mean, it's not a problem if you fulfill all your obligations. For the most part, it's etiquette that, if someone fulfills their pact, all right, your soul's back, your heart's back. It's more like it's being used as collateral to make sure people don't do stupid shit. Accountability, right? And so the ones who fuck it up the most, these people are the fucking shit stains of humanity anyways. That's the kind of people I personally would go after. That falls under what I call a just cause. Normal everyday people? Fuck no. Let them be free. Do what thou wilt.
I see. Well, is there anything else that you want to put on the record or explain to people who are hearing this podcast?
I mean, I would like to say I ain't got nothing against normal everyday people. I ain't even got anything against Christians or anything. But I will say on record, in terms of the game of Mask, I've gone by 4 different of these so-called Satans. And so I would like to first and foremost clarify what that term means, because it essentially just means accuser or prosecutor. And so, really, the prosecutor is not a bad guy if he actually finds someone who's a fucking dirtbag and then shows to the entire court how that motherfucker's a dirtbag. People don't like it because then they can't do whatever the fuck they want. And using forbidden knowledge that most people don't have access to, like they do in these cabals, these dark enclaves, these groups. And they're very good at gatekeeping information they say their ancestors gave to them, but in reality, it was gods, it was demons, this, that, and the other. I mean, for example, you look throughout the whole Testament, it's very clear Solomon was working with demons as well. That magic is demonic magic. It comes from the demon queens. They're the ones who grant people access to that sort of thing. They gatekeep their stuff very well. So the only way for Solomon to have that is if he was probably working with them. I kind of wanted access to that sort of thing. Why wouldn't I? I'm already being treated like a fucking demon and being scapegoated for everyone else's fucking problems because people don't want to take accountability for their fucking actions and look within and realize that these negative, maladaptive thought patterns that they have, that's their inner demons. It's not, for the most part, it's not really some sort of intrusive thing. For some who are targeted, yes, but I'm saying the general people who are living in that blue pill kind of mentality, no. Their demons are their own self-destructive thought patterns about themselves because they have bad self-images, they have insecurities, and on top of that, you have a really fucked up world that is not socialized people well. It doesn't even provide people fresh fucking water. This fucking shit tap water is fluoridated intentionally so that it can prevent people from going through spiritual awakening and essentially expanding their consciousness. That's what the whole Illuminati thing is really about. It's a joke. It's not a real like super secret organization that's going around trying to control the world. That's just spook shit coming from the fucking Fed psyops to fuck with people and then be able to be like, okay, if they buy into this conspiracy theory, we might need to keep a little bit more eye on them because we've seen these pipelines, whatever. So the very same things I'm telling you about, the Glowies do it too. Who do you think? What kind of entities do you think they fucking worked with to learn that kind of shit? Who are they going to worship over at the Bohemian Grove? Nah, it's just some random demon named Moloch. Like, I mean, come on now. It's been in front of your eyes the entire time. I mean, these many of these people are very proud Christians too, exoterically on the surface. They be making many of them be making deals with the devil, right? They be looking for a crossroads demon so that they can get up in life. And so, okay, let's see what they do with it, just a little bit more power. See if they become like a better person from it, or if they go through like an arc where they get cocky, go down, and then like transform and become a better person, or do they just go like woo and just become a bigger and bigger fucking shit stain? And that's the ones I don't like because they're the most fucking cancerous types of people that fucking exist, and it does everyone a favor to get rid of them fucking sons of bitches in a way that it's kind of not really seen.
See. Well, is there anything else that you want to make known to people who are not aware of this kind of thing? Uh,
Yeah, I'll be quite simple and everything. You guys will start seeing more and more of it and everything. Actually, I pay attention to these things on a very psychic level, and usually what you have to do when it comes to these sort of things resurfacing is the women are going to pick up on it quicker. They generally are better at being psychic and seeing the currents, and then you will have higher level psychers also picking up on it and like seeing through the currents and everything. And they can come from any walk in life, right? There's just if you have an eternal soul, you can play a role. And yeah, I mean, hell, you could even be like a retarded fucking hermit and still be like someone who comes from a great soul and acts very well and just be biding your time until it's time to fucking party. That's what I'm on about. Like I'm sick of this fucking Mephisto bullshit. Now that Mephisto's bitch ass has been fucking thrown in the void and he ain't fucking coming back, his fucking stupid fucking cabals that are left over are fucking nothing more than a mere fucking joke. They sold out long ago. Oh no 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 no. They sold out. Many of them sold out decades ago, and they got no fucking idea what be going on in them realms because they're materialistic, spiritually bankrupt pieces of shit.
What should we ask? Is there anyone here who has a question or a comment who's listened to this who wants to ask a question or a comment? Make a
I
comment.
do. I had I was in the New Age for about year, 2 years. I had left Christianity, and I was burning like 10 handfuls of frankincense and Palo Santo and sage, and I was chanting to the star Lugal and doing the 108 prayer, and I got kind of this rush of energy. I didn't need to sleep, eat, drink, or anything, and it felt very vampiric in nature. And then there was this lady. It's like all my friends started to get, it looked like possessed, and then the weird stuff on the TV, like talked about the tap water. And then I ended up in this weird place. I said no to, basically it was like a Lilith archetype in one of my friends. I said no to it. I ended up in this, um I've never been to a parallel universe. It was 1008 was on the room, and it was so freaky. I prayed, and since then I gave up my business. I gave up everything to become a Christian again, and opted out because I could see that it was evil. I didn't know that it was evil until I felt it. That's a small synopsis. I want to know what you think about this.
Well, I mean, more or less, what I truly believe is in chaos for the sake of the better good. If I could distill it, but am I against being evil? No. If people at the higher level, I'm talking about the real high level, I'm talking about the 5D level, they know who I am by a very well-known nickname. They call me the Terrible One. They, they know I'm fucked in the head because I've been fucking with all of them. I've been saying, look, y'all motherfuckers, if y'all let them do stupid shit like this, they're just gonna fuck everything up because they're not gonna have any fucking self control. Just like they did when they fucking decided to do some bullshit with Faustian Bargains that did this whole Federal Reserve shit where instead of sticking to the Constitution, they secretly funneled their way into being able to set up a private entity ran by a banking cartel of 12 banking regions, more or less. At the very top, calling the shots is only a room full of people. And we would say about 14 to 15, really calling the high level, shots and everything. And what they did is they gave up real wealth for this idea of being able to manipulate a perceived wealth via social engineering and propagandization and by setting up a debt system. Because if you're in debt with someone, they fucking got you, bruh. You see? And they call it the rat race. And so they force your income into their system to keep or retain the perceived wealth of the so-called dollar. It's not real wealth. It's just a commissioned piece of paper, right? With an image on it. It is a mark that people wear in their right hand. And then you can, because it's more elastic, it allows them to gamble more. The real reality of why they did this is because they fucked up really bad in the Great Depression, and then when things started getting good again, they're like, let's fucking double down on that stupid bullshit. And y'all don't know what kind of fucking collapse is about to fucking happen because it happens at like a spiral fucking snowball effect. Because how they have it set up is that all of your money is being reserved by them by your income until you get your check. And then you got to pay taxes. And then you got to bank with them. You got to pay their interest rates. It's like a game of Monopoly, my dude. Like the high level players, they're the ones competing for the land, but the really high level player is the one that doesn't play, and that's the bank. The bank always wins a monopoly.
I have something I want to say. I don't know if it's a question yet, but can I say it? Okay, so I was listening to what Shogun was saying, based off if it's a good idea to ascend the throne or replace Satan or whatever, and it's just a trap. I didn't realize it was a trap at the time, so I believed at the time that I had transmuted Satan, Yaldabaoth, or the Demiurge's heart to become perfectly benevolent. And after I believed I did this, I got an offer from the demons, and now to be their new king to replace Satan. And I had accepted it at the time because I had checked my sources and they were like, oh, yeah, you should do that or whatever. But it was really just the ego pretending to be my higher self at the time. So I was kind of like trapping myself, and I didn't realize it was a trap until what Shogun said in this podcast. But while this podcast was going on, I rejected it. I said, I decree as you, the Bliss King, I reject the notion or the idea or the responsibility of being the next ruler of hell. So I was wondering what you thought about that, felt about that.
I mean, that's cool. Most people don't. There's a lot of people who got offers. Apparently I'm the only one crazy enough to go through the entire fucking ritual to obtain the actual agreement and cut the red tape, so to speak. I am officially known as the Beast. I wasn't up until about 2 days ago. There was a former Beast who, at one point in their previous spiritual life, had been married to the Queen of the Underworld, and he was actually the current king of the underworld, except he doesn't want anything to do with demons. So he's been away for a while and he hates anything to do with demons. And so, really, all I'm doing is replacing the previous one who didn't want anything to fucking do with the position, anyways. And so I was like, okay. And got consent and everything, and that was the last bit. It was right there when I got that consent, because that was the last thing holding up. And this had to do with the arrangement between Ereshkigal and Gugalana that happened about 6,000 years ago.
I guess my question is, am I still trapped or under that trap? Or by rejecting it verbally and decreeing that I'm not doing this, like, am I off the trap? Like,
There's no one getting offers to be the new Satan anymore. And as of right now, there's no need for such. And so you don't have to be worried. You're not trapped at all.
thank you for that.
So you don't know about the place I went with the 1008 on the doors that had VU, and then above it was V. And there was like the courts where they had the garment and the trading of places, going out of doors, trading of shoes. And then I went in, there was the 6 cells and the fat ladies that ate continually that ruled over me. And I could control the TVs. You don't know where that is? Or what that is?
No, I'm sorry, I got lost. I don't know.
Do you at least know about the VU and then above it is a V, that symbol?
If I had a picture, I'd be able to tell you.
It's just the letter V, and then below it is V, and then U. Just literally that simple.
What do you mean? I don't know anything about this symbol.
All right.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I have one. If you're known as the Beast, then surely you have a mark, right?
I mean, I've got my third eye, the torchlight. That's my personal mark. And it's in the exact position. I want to clarify. I wasn't the beast up until very recently. I'm revealing this, so to say, and I am the beast of the mother of harlots. I am revealing that, officially disclosing that. I wasn't up until just about 2 days ago.
So Zoo
So
almost my. Oh, sorry.
well, what does that mean to be the beast or to be the mother of harlots or whatever? What does that mean?
Fulfilling prophecy, so to say. I'm directly kind of like hinting towards Revelation and using that specific language because, as you might know, the beast works with the mother of harlots, and they work with one another. And it's like one is a dragon and the other is riding on top of that dragon, metaphorically, so to say. Doesn't mean actually physically, maybe.
So Zoo, almost my whole life up until 25, I had no nightmares or night terrors. I had creepy dreams like that made me want to wake up, but I wouldn't like feel terrified like it's a horror film or a nightmare. But since 25, I've been having really bad nightmares and night terrors up until this point, where I put 666 times two times seven chakric shields around my chakras, 7 major chakras, and since I did that, it's like lessened. Like I don't have as many nightmares or night terrors. It's like the majority of the time it's just good dreams now. But I went a step further and put that many 666 times two, whatever that number is, on each of my infinite chakras on the major chakra line, and that seemed to improve things even more so. But what would be your best methodology to get rid of nightmares and night terrors like that, to stop being sucked into demons' dreams and like dreaming what they're dreaming?
Well, I mean, a lot of people do it because they like do stuff like watch porn and they fantasize about them sort of thoughts constructs and then their dream reality they create that and everything. And something I also wanted to further clarify is I do have the mark of the beast. You see, I have 666 in my phone number, and it is tied to the dollar bill, which is the real mark, which worships the symbol of the beast. And I can use this to pay for anything nowadays with just my right hand, as it was said would happen.
So interestingly enough, my nightmares and night terrors started at age 25. At the same time, I started smoking cigarettes. So does smoking menthol cigarettes have something to do with why I have nightmares and night terrors, or why would you say I'm being haunted like that?
Everyone, a lot of people were going through a tribulation period for the past like 5 to 10 years. My best guess is it maybe has to do with disturbances on this in spiritual conflict outside of most people's perception, and people like you who have a very open like third eye and crown chakra see it more. You perceive it more viscerally in like dream time when you have lucid dreams and everything. And um, uh, I'm hoping maybe because of the timeline of when you said this start stopping, that has to do with things going more towards a balance once again on the various spiritual dominions. And really you got four when it comes to like the main four. You've got the land, you got the sea, you've got the underworld, and you've got the heaven. Those are your four dominions in terms of spiritual. And the same player has been keeping on to what is now perceived as two of the most important of those the entire time because he never gave up his spiritual birthright. Um, and then you had one that's ruled by the queen of the demon matriarchy. When they say they are legion, they're being quite literal. It's a hive mind. It's like one huge legion, more or less. Like a lot of these Christians interpret this a lot more symbolically than what was meant. I'm starting to realize when I see how these things are unfolding, how these things are really working out, and then like there's a lot to it.
So one last thing, a little bit about this chakra shields is they're made up of bliss magic and light magic. And I'm just wondering if it's the shields that I've placed up that are actually making the nightmares and night terrors go away, or is it just like divine timing, or something else is happening that just happened to be when I made those shields.
I think it's more of like the divine timing, and maybe you woke up and you started finding ways to like put up psychic wards and everything. Like I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna dismiss what you're saying or anything like that. You could be like actively trying to put up psychic wards, and it might actually be helping you out and everything. And I think on top of people starting to wake up and everything, and the great awakening that will come upon everyone, for there will be an apocalypse, which means unveiling. Doesn't mean destroying everything in the world or anything like that. But I do think it might be valid that you actively putting up spiritual warding and trying to manifest the idea of not having night terrors played a part in what you might be perceiving.
Do I have a question about the happy clappy aliens that are using people to channel and saying that they need to hybridize them? What's your thoughts on the happy clappy hybridization aliens trying to make people really pink and fluffy, metaphorically speaking?
Pink and fluffy, you mean pussies?
Well, I mean, just it's only positivity.
I mean, that's essentially what you've been kind of having going on anyways with all the gods. They all had their own Aryan race or whatever and fucking did race wars for fucking thousands of fucking years like a bunch of fucking dumbasses. They each had their own lot and they had their own era, whatever. You might have like Odin over in the northern area. He might be the big guy up in Hyperborea. You might have like a Baal over in the Levantine area, who is known by various other names as well. And you might have these different characters, and some of them actually jump around, like the pantheons and everything like that, and have been jumping around for a while. And a lot of stuff has been kept completely outside the perception of like most people, and there's been a huge reason for that because there's been an internal conflict going on between two major competitors, and it's about time to finally put an end to that.
What does East and South trading places mean?
What's that?
East and South trading places.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with what you're referencing.
All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing. About soul contracts and the barter that you've made with these spirits. Is there anything else you want to share before we close up?
No, I think I'm good with that.
All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing. And thank you for recording and everybody for attending. So make sure you join the Temple Mount Discord server and check out our podcast on YouTube and BitChute. And thank you, Zoo. I will send this to Mr. Dawson for uploading. And that'll conclude this episode.